The run to the playoffs is on for your Seattle Seahawks as we are nearing the home stretch, week number 15 of the National Football League season, and a big game ahead for Seattle as they host the Green Bay Packers this week. How do things stack up for the Seahawks when it comes to the division race, the wild card? What do they need to do to get in? We'll break it all down. We'll go over some analytics for you as well as the schedule coming up in just a bit. Tyler Jones here. Thanks for stopping by. If you want the Seahawks to make the playoffs, like the video, don't jinx it. If we get 500 likes on today's video, that guarantees that your Seattle Seahawks will be in the postseason. Hit that like button, and we'll get started with today's show. Things are getting very, very interesting for Seattle. If you recall, just a few weeks ago, we told you about the numbers from The Athletic that gave Seattle about an 11% chance to make the postseason. And this is a little tease for some numbers we'll show you in a bit. The numbers have dramatically changed. Let's start with how things stack up in the NFC right now. Detroit, the number one seed, they've already clinched a playoff spot at 12-1. Philadelphia, the number 2 spot at 11-2. And then there's our Hawks right there at number 3 at 8-5. Above the Buccaneers, leading the NFC South race at 7-6. The wild card, the Vikings in a great spot at 11-2. Among the other teams there, the Packers and the Commanders. Let's take a look at the NFC West standings now. And you have Seattle at 8-5. And there's the Rams at 7-6. The Cardinals and Niners are not completely out of it at 6-7, but certainly have their work cut out for them over the next few weeks. So, now the analytic numbers, what you've all been waiting for. The Athletics playoff predictor gives the Seahawks a 59% chance to make the playoffs. Way up from what it was a few weeks ago. You start winning, got a winning streak, things change. Imagine that. Chances to win the NFC West, Seattle right now at 55% at the moment. Their chances to earn a first round bye, that number 1 seed, well, not impossible, highly unlikely at this point, less than 1% chance. And although the Seahawks keep winning, the Athletic is still not a believer in their chances to win a playoff game. Just a 2% chance to make the playoffs, win a divisional round game, win a wild card round game, and get to the divisional round. So, how do things stack up for the final 4 weeks of the regular season for Seattle? As of right now, the Athletic gives Seattle about a 46% chance to beat Green Bay this week. And then next week's game against the Minnesota Vikings is a pick'em, right at 50%, could go either way for that home game against Minnesota. Meanwhile, the Thursday night game against the Bears on a short week in Chicago, Seattle has about a 51% chance of winning that one. And then the game against the Rams to wrap up the regular season, the Seahawks have about a 48% chance. You can see it's all very close. These are pretty much coin flip games for these 4 games ahead for Seattle. The Seahawks are technically only favored in one of the final 4 games, with that Vikings game being a pick'em. Obviously, no one is the favorite, or you could look at it as co-favorites, whatever floats your boat. But you get the idea. Only outright favorite for one game down the stretch. Who is going to win the NFC West? Will it be the Hawks? Will it be the Cards, the Rams, or the Niners? Type C for Seattle, type AIR for Arizona, type LAR for Los Angeles, type SF for San Francisco. Get your predictions in now and let us know who you think will win the division. Today's show is sponsored by Prize Picks. Prize Picks is the place to go for daily fantasy made easy. Here's how it works. Choose 2 or more players on any given category. Get the choice of more or less, whether you're talking fantasy points in football, rebounds in basketball, goals in hockey. Go to prizepicks.com/CLNS. Promo code CLNS. They will give you $50 to spend for free when you play $5. You don't even have to win to get the money, folks. It's that simple. Prize Picks this time of year is all about football, folks. We got playoff football in college about to heat up in a couple weeks. I am thrilled. Cannot wait for that. We also have the end of the Pro football regular season upon us as well. I'm looking ahead to this Sunday. I got our guy Tyler Lockett. I think he's being kind of underestimated a bit. I know he hasn't played that great this season, but I think he can have at least 22 and a half receiving yards. I'll go the more on that. And with the way Seattle's run defense has played the last few weeks, give me the less on Josh Jacobs' 73 and a half rushing yards. If I put $20 down and both those hit, that turns into $60 on Prize Picks. Play along with me, prizepicks.com/CLNS. Promo code CLNS. The link is in the comments and description of today's video. That's prizepicks.com/CLNS. The link, check it out. Prize Picks, proud partner of Seattle Seahawks Today. All right, so let's compare Seattle to the rest of the division when it comes to their playoff chances. The Seahawks currently at 55%. We told you about that earlier. You compare that to the other teams. The Rams have the next highest odds at 31% to make the postseason. The Arizona Cardinals, after suffering 2 losses to Seattle in a 3-week stretch, their playoff odds are now down to 9%, while the San Francisco 49ers' chances are down to 5%. So with that said, I think we can comfortably say this is a 2-team race right now between the Seahawks and the Rams. It is more than likely, barring something crazy happening, and we've seen some crazy things happen before, that one of those 2 teams is going to be the one that wins the division when it's all said and done. Now, we showed you earlier that the Athletic basically has a coin flip game for Seattle for all 4 of their remaining games down the stretch. But even with that said, they're predicting that the Seahawks finish the season with a 10-7 record, which would be the best record they've had in quite some time. And it would also fulfill the prophecy for Mike Macdonald that was brought in to elevate this team after having back-to-back 9-8 seasons to take a huge step forward at 10-7. I could live with that. I'd be very pleased with a 10-7 campaign. Meanwhile, the Rams are projected to have a 9-8 record. So, do some simple math there. You can see that the Athletic is projecting that the Seahawks win the division with a 10-7 record. Just how good are the Seattle Seahawks? According to the Athletic's points expected figure, they say that the Seahawks offense is worth about 22.3 points per game. The defense is worth about 21.8 points per game. So that's about a 0.5 point differential compared to any team in the NFL on a neutral field. If they played all 32 teams, they're on average about a half point better than the opponents they face. You compare that to Los Angeles, and their numbers are a little bit better than Seattle's numbers are. Their offense is about a 24.3, which is about 2 points higher than Seattle. Their defense is a 22.3, which is about half a point lower than Seattle's number is. But their overall is better than Seattle's number at 2.0 when you compare the two. We will get to the remaining schedule for each of these teams in just a moment, but let's ask you first, when you compare the Seahawks and the Rams, who's the better team right now? Let me know in your unbiased opinion, who is the better team? We saw them play a few weeks ago. We'll see them play again Week 18. Who's the better team? Is it Seattle or is it L.A.? Let me know. If you think Seattle's the better team, type Y for yes. If not, type in for no. Down the stretch, when you compare these two, without a doubt, the Hawks have a tougher path than the L.A. Rams do when it comes to a division title. But they have the one-game edge on Los Angeles. You look at what's ahead for Seattle. You take on the Green Bay Packers this week on Sunday Night Football. And I honestly think that Packers team is really, really good. I think they got a great shot to win the NFC when it's all said and done. And with this being the first Sunday night game for Seattle since 2021, with the Seahawks kind of flying under the radar, I said this earlier, I'll say it again, they feel like the best-kept secret in the NFL. This game is the coming-out party for the Seattle Seahawks on a national stage to show if they are legit or not. Are they really that team that we think they are? Here's a chance to really prove themselves on Sunday Night Football to see how they stack up against one of the best teams in the NFC that made a decent playoff run just a season ago and is one of the favorites here. And Seattle is not favored this week. They're a 2.5-point underdog, over-under at 45.5. What I'm curious of, too, is a lot of talk has been, hey, Lumen Field's not what it used to be. Fans kind of got taken over by Bills fans a few weeks ago on a national stage, Sunday Night Football. Are the 12s going to come out? Is it going to be a lively atmosphere? Is it going to feel like the Lumen Field of old? Is the Hawks' Nest going to be back? Is the energy going to be there? The excitement going to be there? Is that going to be the difference between a win and a loss? We'll find out on Sunday. You look at the rest of the schedule for Seattle. You take on the Vikings the following week. That'll be a tough game. Vikings with the second-best record in the NFC right now. Sam Darnold has played out of his mind. Then a short week, you take on the Chicago Bears on Thursday Night Football. Not a given, even though the Bears are out of it. They fired their head coach. All those guys, the players, the coaches, they're auditioning for their futures for next year. They still have a lot to play for. And then, of course, you take on the Rams Week 18 on the road to finish off the regular season. Now, if you compare to the LA Rams, their toughest game to finish out the season, they already took care of business. They had their prove-it win last week against the Buffalo Bills, who are a legit Super Bowl contender, one of the best teams, not just in the AFC, but in the NFL. They went toe-to-toe with a very good Buffalo team and beat them in a shootout. They played a lot better against Buffalo than Seattle did a few weeks ago, that's for certain. And you look at their upcoming schedule. You get the Niners on a short week. You take them on in Thursday Night Football, and it's on the road, so anything could happen. The Niners certainly could pull this off, and they're not completely out of it yet, as we mentioned earlier. You take on the Jets, and the lowly Jets are not that great of a football team, but you still have Rodgers, Garrett Wilson, Devontae Adams, and others. Who knows what they could potentially do. Then you face the Cardinals, a team that we also mentioned, not completely out of the woods yet. We'll see where they're at when it comes to December 29th. And then, of course, that game against Seattle to wrap up the regular season. What will be Seattle's final record? I said this before. I'll say it again. I think the goal is to go 2-2 in this 4-game stretch. You go 2-2, you're likely winning the division, and you're in the postseason. You finish 10-7. I would gladly take a 10-7 finish to the year. What would you see the Seahawks season finishing up as? Let us know. If you enjoyed today's show, like the video. We certainly would appreciate it. I'm Tyler Jones. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time right here on Seahawks Today.